Hello everybody at the Astro Flower. This is a prelude video to the weekend live on Sunday at 9 o'clock UK time, which is going to be about healing this week. And I think I'd give you a rundown of a week of a healer and the sort of things we get up to. Things we get up to, yeah. So I've been, just a very quick background, been doing healing now for a very long time, openly as a profession, as my own profession, over 20 odd years. But obviously I was learning before that, before I was openly doing it, as it were. And I've seen a lot of people in the Pyrenees, in the French side, so I had to learn it all in French as well, which I never learned at school. And it's so it's a lot of experience and a lot of people seen, and total unique people. I must have seen over 12,000 people, it is a particular lifestyle, and it may seem very romantic, but I will tell you now, it's not always cooked up to what it's supposed to be. It's there's certain preconditioning to being a healer. First things first, realizing that you're not actually really doing the healing. You are like the plumber installing the heating system in a house, but you do not heat the house, if you know what I mean. So I'm constantly doing, or like an electrician, I'm constantly rewiring things when I'm doing my healing. So understanding that is one of the prerequisites in a way. Another prerequisite is be prepared to learn and be prepared to get it wrong, because that's the way in which we learn. And for the first sort of like 10 years I'd say, really, maybe not 15 but 10, certainly 10 years, experimenting and so forth of how you do that, learning systems. And I've never opened a medical book in my entire life. I've never studied medical sort of stuff. I learn a lot, and I will go and check what the rest of the world is saying about, say, like the thyroid or the liver or whatever. And but I prefer to learn directly through energy, because that's how I've learned everything, and I trust energy in that, implicitly in that sort of respect. And but always be prepared to learn. Do not be, and realize you don't know everything. You like to think so, but you don't. But you can get the answers to pretty much most things. But sometimes it's very difficult to sort of see the answers. And so that's like a prerequisite to doing it. Once you install your life, and I'll how I became a healer within the eyes of the world around me, is an amazing story, and I'll be talking about that on the Sunday live at 9 o'clock UK time. So I'll go back into that sort of back detail there. But when you do become, or when either life chooses you to be a healer rather than you choose to be a healer, it seemed to be like that. And when you do that, you take on multitudes of roles. You're not just, I'm not a doctor, and I stay well away from medication and stuff like that. Not my domain. I never give medication to someone. So therefore, I'm not going to comment on whether you should take medication or not. It's not my field. I leave that to that. That's part of the medical world, as it were. But there is a degree, there is a certain, obviously a major element of, you know, looking into the medical world and dealing with, you know, because the main things I do is physical healing. There is a major amount of spiritual healing. We'll go into that in a minute. And spiritual, energetic healing as well that goes along with it. And there's a reason for this, because healing is not just about one thing. It's not just about energy. It's not just about the spirit, and it's not just about the physical. I was going to say physics then. The physical. It's the three things combined. It's the trilogy combined. And it's the way in which you combine things. It helps to get a better result for the healing. And but there is, you know, so I learned a lot about enzymes, how the body basically works. I can't probably tell you half the things in what they're called in the Latin, because that's what normally they're called in, you know, stuff like that. But at the same time, I can tell you that this block goes in this block. I don't know, I don't even need to know what that block is called. I don't even really need to know what vitamin it is. I can look into it, and it may well need to be looked into it to say, okay, you're missing this vitamin here and stuff like that, or my opinion is that you're missing this vitamin here and stuff like that. And you know, the best way to get for your body needs is through what you eat, basically. Everything you consume. You shouldn't really have to take supplements and stuff like that. I can understand that they work and they do help out, but you know, so you know, you have to learn a lot about the medical world. You have to learn a lot about the spiritual world as well. And I've read the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, you know, and the Tibetan Book of the Dead and stuff like that. You know, you have to come. You know, there's no turning anything away. Everything's good to learn from. And so you end up so you take the role as medical practitioner, although that is not what I am at all. But you know, you have people coming to you with medical problems, and then you also have people coming to you with spiritual or mental problems. So you have to be a priest or a psychiatrist at the same time. And it does all tie in between the physical, the energy, and the spirit. It all ties in together. So you end up working a lot, you know, and a lot of physical problems can come from spiritual and stuff like that, or energetical. And, you know, it's finding those connections there, which helps to get a better result for the people who come to you. So you have to be this sort of priest. You're almost on call all the time, like a priest would be. So I'm like a priest without a religion, which suits me down to the ground. So you're like a priest, you're like a psychiatrist, you're like a medical practitioner. And then you get into the energy stuff, and which gets a little bit more sort of woo-woo and a little bit sort of way, a little bit where, you know, sort of thing. And, you know, sometimes I could be, you know, healing a house. The energy's on a house, and I do that on a regular basis, a lot more than what most people would think, actually. And it does affect the physical health of the people and stuff like that. Like you could, you know, Schumann lines and what have you, and I've forgotten what the other one is. The squared off lines and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different aspects of life that you've got to be prepared to do, and this is why I do a lot of stuff about energy, because energy is the go-between everything. Really, it is the omega and the alpha and the omega of the situation. It is the beginning and the end. So knowing how energy works on a very mechanical level is really important, so you don't get delusional about what is possible for the client, because being honest with the client is also part and parcel of it. And you know, that is difficult, very difficult sometimes when you're dealing with situations which are could be conditions that maybe pose a life-ending sort of scenario. So you've got to be very prepared for all of that sort of thing. So and I've been in the Pyrenees here for over 25, 30, nearly 30 years doing this. And a lot of everybody seems to know me. I don't know everybody, but everybody seems to know me. And it's you end up part of the community, and for a lot of people you end up, because it's quite difficult to get an appointment now just with your local GP. And I get a lot of people coming to me sort of saying, look, I can't get an appointment with the GP. Can you just have a look at this and see what it is, just to take away the worry and do the healing and stuff like that, And I would never advise someone not to see a doctor. I would always advise someone to see a doctor, because that's really important. Whatever you do, always go and get medical advice and stuff like that. I think it's really, really important. I think everything has its place. So you become part of this community that people come to you on a regular basis, and sometimes you're not going to know what's going to be walking through the door, whether it's going to be something spiritual, whether it's going to be something physical, energetical, mental, karmic. There's loads of things that are attached to it. So just being in a very neutral place, and because when you're in a neutral place, you can actually see where things are not working, because you're in a neutral place. If you come in with expectations, you'll be convinced that this is a good thing, but actually, because you're not in a neutral place, you're not seeing it for what it really is. And I think that's really important. So in a weekly scenario, I do have days where I have appointments for people here, and people tend to book up and come and see me and so forth. So I will have my regular appointments that come as like my surgery, in a way that people come and see me on a regular basis. But I do have emergencies where people will contact me and sort of say, look, I've got my daughter's child has got this particular problem. And I had a thing this week here with, and it's been, I had sort of 2 or 3 children, very young children between the ages of 0 and 5, who had complications, and they had complications in the same part of their body, which was quite funny. And that's a sort of like, I would say it's coincidental, but I've gone past that stage of coincidence and start realizing that it's rhythm. But I'd realised that for a long time, in the synchronicities of things, that this is going to happen. And I got some young chap who had been caught out in the wind and the sun too much, and basically just grilled his face. He hadn't had he stayed too much out in the sun, basically, and grilled his face. And obviously everyone's worried, because there's big blisters that are forming and stuff like that, and they're worried about the skin and how it's going to affect them over time and stuff like that. So I had this person, and it's obviously people want information straight away when it's a loved one that's touched from it all. And so I dealt with that sort of side, and it's a very elementary sort of healing, taking away burns and stuff like that. Very, very, it's bread and butter. Well, I wouldn't say bread and butter, that's not nice. Sort of basic stuff. That's the most basic form of healing, of taking away someone's pain. And that's more sort of like soothing, I would say, than healing, because the idea is to rectify the problem. So I was doing that, and so I dealt with that. And obviously they come back to me in the evening, kind of going, how's it going? Have you looked at them and everything like that? What was your diagnosis and what have you? What's going on with the skin? Will there be any everlasting problems and so forth? And you know, you obviously have to deal with things on a time scale. So first of all, let's get the skin so it's no longer reacting, so it calms down, get rid of the blisters and stuff like that. And you know, he was in an enormous amount of pain, and I didn't actually physically see him. I was only given a photograph, and so I had to deal with that. And it didn't actually take a long time to do it, because I was, you know, it was very mechanical, so it didn't take long to do it, and took sort of like 15-20 minutes, as it were. And you know, the worry with the parents and so forth is almost more, you're having to deal with that more. So like if the son comes, you know, the son that came to them, you know, and obviously if he sees the worry on their face, especially with young children, they know when you're worrying. You say no, but they know, you know, like most people. But you know, it's almost that part you have to deal with. So, you know, being as a healer, you've got to be at people's disposal, which is quite difficult. Certainly when you've got family and friends and what have you, can be quite difficult. But being at people's disposal all the time can be, you know, quite difficult. But you know, I went back to the people. I spoke to the parents, and obviously they're very sort of like anxious and so forth. And you know, did the healing, and sort of like took 20 minutes, and then got the call the next day. And the next day was sort of a lot of thanks, a lot of wow sort of thing, you know, because he woke up in the morning and he's sort of saying, oh, my face feels normal. Obviously it takes time for physically the body to sort stuff out, you know, but the blisters were already sort of like not so much under pressure. Everything was going down, and 2 or 3 days later, literally everything was, you know, there was no more blisters. Obviously he's going to peel majorly on his face, and there is some ongoing stuff that needs to be dealt with the skin condition. But the healing is not just the physical side, it's also the emotional and the emotional and spiritual sort of side and energy side. And it's not just dealing with the person you're healing with a lot of the time, it's also dealing with a lot of people that are connected to it. So you've got to be, you know, you've got to be in a very neutral place in order to do that. And seeing people, and you see people regularly. So I see people, you know, some people will come to me once a year, once every 2 years, once every 6 months, once every 3 months, once a month. It depends upon the person. I don't usually set out sort of like, okay, you've got to see me every month for 6 months. I don't really do it that way. It's simply because when you get the person that is engaged, there's a lot better chance that it's going to help that person. The placebo effect is enormous, and that comes from then. The moment they walk through my door, 50% of the work is done, because they've decided that they actually want to change, or, you know, to have the healing. And that is, you know, you should never take away that power from the person that is coming to see you. It's a very privileged position you should be in, and say, you know, you should return the control to the person who is receiving more than anything else. So it's seeing people on a regular basis. So I've seen people, you know, I first saw them when they were 2 years old, and I'm now looking at them when they're 25. And they're doing stuff, and they come back and then they see me when they're 25, and it's like you get to know people, you get to know the whole entire family, you get to, you know, I would consider it a very privileged position to have or to hold within the community that I think we've lost. And I think, you know, when I started this journey, I wanted it to be normal for people to come and see people like me. I wanted it to be normal, and this was like 20 odd years ago, way before the well-being industry, because that's what it is. Industry was created. And now it seems to have come to pass that it's quite normal to go and see someone such as what I do, working with energies and so forth. So realizing that privileged position is also very important as a healer. And the biggest work you will do as a healer is working on yourself. And I'd like to do, there's lots of things that are going to come out of this, but you work upon yourself. You're constantly working upon yourself, knowing yourself, because there is a enormous emotional highs and lows within the healing world. If you're working on a baby that's got major problems and you can't get that baby through, it's a tough one to swallow sometimes, and emotionally it can affect you. So you need to be really completely and utterly detached from that whole sort of thing. Okay? So, an everyday healing as a healer, and I've never really learned any system. I'm not a Reiki master. I developed my own system that I teach, or in a healing way. So I've never learned from another system. I've created my own system according to what I see in the way of energy, of how it vibrates around everything, and how when I'm working, how it changes. And it gave me a system, a beautiful system that's very easy to use by multitudes of people. And I don't think there's anybody. I think everybody can do it. Okay, it's like everybody can build a house, but it doesn't necessarily mean everybody is going to be a really good builder. I've renovated 3 houses, literally built 3 houses, and during my time, and I'm not a builder, but I can certainly build a house. And that's where healing chooses you, rather than you choosing healing and stuff like that. So I think, with the system that I have, it's incredibly simple to use, but the biggest learning curve whenever anybody came to my my healing school, is fundamentally the work that the person does upon themselves. Because you're put into situations where you can't just say that's the law, so therefore it's got to be like that. It's not as cut and dry. And knowing yourself as well will be knowing the limits, because obviously you want everyone to be well and fine and dandy, you know what I mean? But that's not how it works. You forget that you're not on their path, they're not on your path, they're on their path, and the person that comes and sees you. So you have to be prepared for that as well, to sort of kind of going, why? And I wouldn't advise you to ever ask why. Time's up by the looks of it. You should never even ask why. You should ask just a lot of little questions that create the why. I don't know if you can see him. Cody loves a good chat. He loves a good sing-along. So, a lot of noise. That's broken the song chorus slightly. But yeah. I don't know if there's a fire going on or something now. That's usually, it's a lot longer than usual. Oh, that's it, 7 o'clock prayers, that's what it is. So, let's give ourselves a prayer to anybody out there who needs any healing. enjoy the song. And stop, please. It's going to go on for hours, isn't it? I wonder how long it's been going on now. You know, gone are the days when it was someone ringing a bell. It's all on mechanics these days. Here used to be, where I am here, used to be what is called a hermitage. So, there we go, we're stopping now. C'est bon, Cody? Is that okay? Yeah, mate. Up here. Up here. No? You don't want to say that. So it used to be a hermitage. So obviously the hermit used to ring the bell. And I feel like a bit like I'm in hermit mode at the moment with the hermit card. So, yes. So that's basic, you know, a healer's, as much structure as I like to give it, so it helps me to have certain days when I'm doing sort of healings and stuff like that. I think that's really important, but also you've got to realize that you've got to be at the disposal of the community where you live. Now, I think that's really important. And feeling at one with the community that you live in. I think that's really, really important. So, and, you know, you will have to put up with a lot of people. I'll go into that actually on Sunday night on the live, because there's some very funny stories. There's some very funny stories. Yes. So we will be talking about that on Sunday, 9 o'clock UK time. Yeah. Thanking you. Don't forget about the messages from energy as well. That's like helping. It's almost like energy hygiene. That's what it's about. Energy hygiene. So yes, I'll see you all on that. Thanking you very much for all the support you give to this channel. It's absolutely beautiful. Love all the messages, and I will see you on Sunday at 9 o'clock. In the meantime, don't forget, whatever you do, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.